I want to play my part in creating a world that children, teenagers, and the young adults of today actually want to inherit. Otherwise, what's the point?
Almost every Sunday I spend with my mum, and she's 92, lives on her own. A few years ago decided to learn the internet and buy a tablet so that she could do ancestry things. So we spend a lot of time on a Sunday doing, and then we research in the week, and then we sort of get together and compare notes and things. And obviously every single Sunday I'm finding out more and more things about what it was like for her, born in 1925, and her mother and her grandmother and things like that. It's made the whole thing about being a woman in Salford over the years really put in a very different light. Finding it from a personal angle other than the history books has made me rethink a lot of things.
I come from a long line of formidable women. My great aunt Constance Lytton was a suffragette. She joined the WSPU and was subsequently imprisoned with her fellow activists, but the guards recognised that she was from a wealthy family and treated her kindly, not force-feeding her. When she realised this, she began to act under an alias, Jane Wharton, an ugly seamstress, in order to avoid the special treatment. My mum first taught me how to sew, and I just really loved it. I loved making something. I liked that at the end of the day I had something in my hands that I'd done. Most garment workers are women, and they definitely receive the worst treatment. For most factories, if there are men, they tend to be in positions of power or management. I suppose I think that my role in it is to kind of highlight their plight a little bit and see if I can discourage people from buying fast fashion and kind of taking a little bit more time to think about where their clothes came from and the fact that somebody like me or somebody made them. And who cares if somebody's worn something once? The odds are they've never even worn it. The amount of clothes in the UK that just end up in the back of a cupboard with their labels still on.
How did you find writing for Generation W?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked that the questions were a little bit more about my personal life as a creator as opposed to like just how I feel as a woman and my identity as a woman. I've been interviewed before, but it's more about how I feel as a woman as opposed to like how being a woman has impacted my work.
To start doing magic, like what is the first point of entry that you've got to do?
I believe anyone can do anything if they put their mind to it, and I think, yes, there might not be very many females in magic, but there are more and more young girls entering this amazing industry now, and it's incredible. It's one of the things I love to encourage. I came from literally, having absolutely nothing and doing some, like I said, some pretty bad things, and, I managed to knuckle down and become a magician.
If I make a bend in your card like this, now you can see it really easily, right? If I put the rest on top, don't take your eyes off the deck. 3, 2, 1. Alright, I did make you a promise earlier though. I said I was going to tell you how it works. Okay. And I will, I promise you. Look, the trick is this, I am a magician, but I'm a very specific kind. I'm a sleight of hand artist, which means as wonderful as magic gestures are, and you were amazing. The truth is though, I spend a lot of time on my own, like I said earlier, right? What that means is I always know where the card is by means of like misdirection and practice. So look, I'll give you an example. If I flick through the cards, I can count quickly. So that there is the 19th card, which makes that the 20th position. So now I know exactly where it is. I can cut it, shuffle it, I still know. But what if I told you this? I haven't lied to you. I know where your card is, I put it. But the reason I can shuffle these is because your card is not here anymore. So if it's not here or on me, where is it? It's actually in front of you. Right here, there's a box. If you listen, inside, yes, it's folded in 4 pieces.
Wow!
Oh my
don't. Like, when I said I was going to cry, I meant it because it just
Please don't. Please don't. That was the weirdest angle to do any of that. So listen, I'll take it. So wow. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. No worries, guys.
I don't suppose you have a wallet or something that you can just have on top of it.
Give me a little funky light.
Maybe something particular.
Just do it on the cake. Why would you go in the way?
Oh. Yes. Sweet, that's good for me, thank you.
Okay.
You get something monkey.
Mic check, 1, 2.
Mic check, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 2, 1. 1, 2.
Sweet. Yeah, nice one.
Well done.
So when I was 18 years old, I became the youngest female to become a member of the Magic Circle. And when I first walked in the building, I felt quite uncomfortable. There was a lot of men there, and honestly, I dressed quite outrageously. And I was told to perhaps go away and come back when I dressed more appropriately. And I thought, that's it, I'm done. And as I was walking out the door, this amazing woman who was smoking a cigarette, she stopped me and said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Oh, I'm leaving this place." She went, "No, you're not." And that woman was Faye Presto. So actually, she took me under her wing, and she was an amazing, amazing woman who mentored me at the very, very early days of my career. And since then, I learned from men, because it's mostly males that write the books and do the lectures, but now I'm a lecturer.
You said, like, the first time you left because you felt you were dressed wrong. I've definitely felt that at Cyprus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Can you try something?
I'm honoured enough to be in the book as well, so thanks for having me in that. And then one of the biggest achievements of my last year is something called the lip roll, which is a beatbox sound, it's a bass sound. It took me 4 months to learn, yeah. I can only do it on one side of my mouth, so I'm going to show you what it sounded like for 4 months on this side of my mouth. I was like, I'm never going to get it, don't know when it's going to happen. And then I was walking along the beach in Devon, and I was practicing, and then all of a sudden it dropped, and I was like, come on. Called my mom, I was like, Mom, listen to this. She was like, what is that? So this is what it sounds like anyway.
Boys can turn up in their pyjamas, and girls are expected, so. I actually said that on stage the other day. Got a really weird reaction.
And I know what respect is and what it looks like and how it feels. So when I'm being disrespected, you can't pull the wool over my eyes. Like, I'll know, even if I look you dead in the eye and go, "You disrespected me." And you go, "No, darling, no. No, you're beautiful. I would never do that." No. It's like,
I chose the image and I loved it, so it's just dressing like I like, you know. I chose an image that I'm very comfortable with.
Have you always had the look that you have now?
Yeah, I haven't really changed that much.
That's the most important thing, is maintaining who you are. Keep that. You lose that, you lose everything.
Have anybody in the industry you've dealt with so far suggested that you change your image?
Yeah, not a lot of people, because quite a lot of people seem to get it, but then I've had some people say, you know, your target audience is men, and so you should cater to them, wear more revealing clothes, show more skin, and I'm not that kind of artist.
I wasn't the first female to play rock and roll music. I gave women, without even meaning to, permission to be in the rock and roll industry as a serious contender. I know a lot of girls would look at me and say, oh my God, Suzi Quatro's doing that. I can do this. And that's wonderful. I can't say I went like a game plan, here's my blueprint, this is what I'm doing. But when you look at it and you start getting the questions and the feedback, then you realize that that is indeed what you're doing. And I think the reason that I was the one to have the first success doing it, which I was, first ever female, first ever rock female musician to be successful. I think it's because I don't do gender. So I wasn't up there like a women's liver and, hey, I'm a girl, look what I can do. That wasn't my attitude. It's just, here I am. Here I am. Take it or leave it. And thank God the world is ready for it. I wouldn't be doing this interview right now.
When you're constantly told how to be and what you should be doing, and you're going in the wrong direction, and then you just see, I don't know, you see artists selling their soul.
You can get carried away by the fame aspect. You can get caught up in that. And that's not why I'm in the industry. I'm in the industry because I love communicating, I love entertaining, and I love creating. And I still love it the same as I did when I first started.
So this next track I wrote, and it was all about, someone said they loved me, and then I was like, okay, I love you too. And they're like, oh no, I didn't mean it, I lied. And I was like, oh, well, it's no bother. And then I wrote this chorus that was all about staying or leaving. And then I got over him, so I decided this should just be about Brexit.
I'm happy to be held accountable for my words and actions. So if any politician asks me why I didn't use an alias, that's exactly what I would tell them. So I actually had the interview questions come to me as a sort of competition entry to have my song released as a single by Urban Kingdom. The reason I never entered the competition was because I got to the fourth question, what is the biggest challenge in life? And there were too many answers that there wasn't an answer. But thankfully Nick kept hassling me and we made the music video anyway, and then I had to sit down and I had to answer the questions.
Page 370 if you want to find out everything about me. There's more information in that book than there is on my Instagram, I swear. I went in deep. So Nick Donnelly I met through Urban Kingdom. He made a music video for my song called The Peak, and we released it at Christmas. But this is the live version with the band. This is my band. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And my name's Boudica, so hi.
I don't ever wanna be a queen.
How can I be proud of my nationality? When the empire brought brutality to my family, dug up my hand, running in history, erasing her story in history. I got a deep pedigree and willing to live by.
What do we face daily that is a challenge, and challenges that we need in our lives, and then what are the challenges in our lives that we've had to overcome?
Struggled with mental health problems in the past. I feel like a lot of us do. In fact, I read the statistics, I know that we all do, but we don't talk about it because it's really triggering and it's really hard. And what I want to say is, if you read anything, I'm on Instagram, message me.
Like how you sort of put us all together, and like I was saying about meeting people, it's been so nice, just people that I would never normally meet.
And just surrounded by so many inspirational women, and I've never had an opportunity like this before, so I'm trying to mess with it. So, the first question I want to answer is what advice I'd give to my younger self. And it's something I've learned very slowly over time, which is to stop chasing perfection. It doesn't exist in this human form. And everything you'll ever need is already within you. And I learned that through doing what I love and fighting for things that I really believe in.
I was taken away from my mum at quite a young age, and I didn't see her for 5 years. She was a Playboy model who became a journalist and worked at the Evening Standard, and then she went on to become a local councillor, and she was the mayor while I was growing up. She's a revolutionary to her core. There is nothing about the patriarchy that she will pander to. She definitely believes that men and women are not equal, but they should be, and she does everything she can in order to fight for that. And she's always ingrained it into me that there is nothing that I cannot do because I am a woman.
I realised that that's what I wanted to do, is tell stories, because I was just fed them. My mum churned them out, and they became part of my language. Because I was her first child, I heard all of the books that she ever came into contact with.
I've certainly felt over the years that I did my best to figure out how to be the best woman that I could be, despite not having a mother there to guide me in the right direction. Trying to find my footing in a sometimes cruel world, it's not surprising that I struggled with insecurity and low self-esteem, as I didn't have anyone there to teach me otherwise. I had to learn it for myself. I had to build it over time. In work, it could be extraordinarily difficult.
I have heard some disturbing stories about directors and producers and such like, and in fact I've been hearing them since before the Harvey Weinstein scandal came out, but I'm always still shocked at this casting couch culture which does apparently exist, and it certainly was worse in the old days. And I think since the Harvey Weinstein incident, I think it has become less acceptable, for example, for producers to invite women to their hotel rooms. And I interviewed Patricia Clarkson recently, and she was saying that that now is just something that's never going to happen anymore.
We're living in a different time now, a time of movement and change. We're amplifying our voices, but this wasn't the case a few years ago. Quiet acts of racism and sexism in the workplace weren't always spoken about or revealed. And you just had to get on with things. No one wanted to talk about it. No one wanted to admit that if you were a person of color trying to work in the entertainment industry in an area, a very specific area where there wasn't much diversity, that racism truly existed. It was always said that it had to be something else that stood in the way of good people getting the roles or jobs they deserved. And personally, I've always operated with integrity no matter what, and where I've witnessed an injustice, I've always spoken up for others and for myself, and I wasn't always popular for it.
For some people that look like me and sound like me and are from similar backgrounds to me, I am demonstrating that they can do and be whoever they want to be. There are lots of productions around the world, in the West End particularly, where the majority of the cast are of colour, but they haven't got anyone in positions of power helping them stage their stories. And so I've seen that a lot of people are very relieved to see me in a room because they feel like there's some sort of equality, or they're not being used, or that they're appreciated, or that they're not just show horses in a sense.
So I feel like it's so important, like my main thing at the moment is very like representation is so important. I never pushed my difference. I never said I'm Egyptian. Like it was really never something that I really cared or thought about before. But the older I got, I think I started to pay attention to the messaging that was in the world around me. So like, you know, after September 11th, there's so much bad press or really restrictive, reductive ideas of what it means to be an Arab Muslim woman. And as I sort of paid more attention, as I grew more comfortable in my ability to even have opinions and be able to get them across, and I saw what the hell the conversation was in the world, I was like, oh my God, I'm actually doing myself and everyone everyone like me a disservice if I don't have this conversation. It's easier to be yourself if you can see yourself. And I think that ultimately it's so important to have representation of all different sorts of things, of culture, of religion, of appearance. One person doing something is opening the door for more people.
Okay, let's go. The head's not available, take the body. Oh, man, he's tying up that guard there, he's got caught with his left hook. Alright, time. Okay. Right, so what exposed to you there was the left hook.
Usually whenever I'm being filmed or videos,
Well, they ask you to smile.
everyone's like, look happy, look happy. And I'm like,
It's overrated.
I think so.
In front of the camera, I realised that I actually like sink into myself just out of like natural reaction.
I used to read so many books and read them so quickly that my mum wouldn't believe I'd read them. And I'd finish them and she used to go through them and quiz me on them. She'd say like, what street was such and such a shop on, or what was the name of so and so's dad, and she could never catch me out. Just read all the time.
I hated the first few photo shoots I did.
Does anyone have any questions to ask?
Can you actually pull a truck?
Yeah. The thing I like about weightlifting is that work always translates into results. You do X reps of Y weight and you do that every week and you do more the next week, you're going to get stronger. Whereas I think in the real world that doesn't always happen. Everything I do is fueled by frustration around the way we use technology and the way we use screens. And I think in today's world we think we're really connected with each other, but we're actually becoming very disconnected from each other through our constant hyper-connection. So the aim of the product was always to use technology to try and facilitate more genuine human connection, and ideally in situations where that's not usually possible. So for example, our product is used a lot in children's hospitals. So that's an example of a case where, you know, a text message or a video call doesn't really cut it, but connecting a sick child with her mother is really meaningful.
All the stories I tell are human at heart. So if you meet someone and you don't want to walk away, or if you hear something that you can't forget about, they're the stories that I want to tell.
You were interviewing pop stars, so how did that like transition go?
Well, it was actually kind of a favour for a friend of mine, Fee, who I think you know.
Media is all around us now, and it's not just media companies that are projecting images of success, well-being, wealth and intimacy. It's our friends and those we follow on social media. The influx is constant, it's everywhere, and it's inescapable. Now we've become so close to people's stories that there is less time and little silence to think clearly about our own.
I know some friends of hers, and someone had dropped out of interviewing Meghan Trainor, and the interview was the next day, and they were looking for a writer to do the interview. So I just saw it on Facebook and I was like, oh, I can do it. I think documentary background sometimes helps when you're interviewing pop stars because they're so well press trained. Whereas docs, you kind of know how to swerve those things and get some good stuff out of them.
So that's what you were trying to do, just to swerve them?
Well, you know, they've got like their stock answers that they say, you know, I was like, oh, like, whatever, just tell me like who you are. And in the end, she was like, oh my God, this is like a really great interview. And I was like, yeah.
Every girl wants to be loved, and every girl loves dressing up. So the first thing we would think of is being in front of the camera. But I feel once you become a lot more experienced in the music industry, you realise that there's a lot of credibility in being behind the camera, and you can gain a lot of success in other areas. Being in front of the camera comes with a lot of pressures. But I feel like it just depends. Some people want to be famous. Some people want to be successful. So it just depends where you're at with it. Some people want to be successful and famous. But yeah, do a lot of women want to be? I don't know. I think there's a lot of women behind the scenes. You just don't know it yet. There's a lot of women that I've kind of connected with recently that are behind the scenes. We're just quiet. We're not all together. Like the boys all really come together and you kind of know they're there. But there's a lot of women that work behind the scenes and make things happen. So I think we need to kind of get them in the room soon.
I'm not really sure where we're going right now, but yeah, come on, join in, like hop on board as well, join the ride. And yeah, and then like, you know, we've just kind of grown, and like, you know, we've established like different areas, and the radio side and the TV side and the online, and now kind of like 10 letters in like a really, you know, like great position, like moving into our second year of business now. And
it's difficult to plan when you have no idea what might happen next week. You know, the recognition that we've got in a week, the increase in sales we've had in a week. I think just having strong role models that are female throughout my life I don't have any fear. I don't have any fear of being a woman because I live in this country, and I'm lucky to live in this country and have the support networks that I have around me. And that's what I mean, you know, I've had these beautiful bits of luck, being born where I was born, being accepted for who I am, being able to do the career that I want to do, even though it doesn't really make any money, you know, I still do it.
Are you worried now about, like, you know, say work could progress and you might have to leave your job in Winchester?
Yeah, of course. You know, that was one of the first things in my mind, other than, oh crikey, I might have to actually leave my boy and my husband. That's obviously terrifying, but I don't want to leave that university because it's such a kind of family environment where I've been for 13 years, student and staff.
Being a Generation W book, I'm really excited to be a part of it. I'm more excited to read it myself and see it and feel it, and to read the 99 other experiences of amazing women. So yeah, I think it's a massive moment, and I really hope that it inspires the next generation of women.
to know you have agency over your career more than you think you do, because people will try and kid you that you don't, but you do. Being silly and being fun isn't just something that boys can do. When I was at drama school, if I would have said to myself then I would be doing what I did now, I would have thought, oh no, that's something that boys can do. They can make their own work. They can express themselves without any judgment. When I was training as an actress, there was a huge focus on diet. What you look like, you have to be this, you have to be that, to fit into this bracket or this bracket. That was really overwhelming to have all of that pressure at just 18 years old and told that your body isn't your own, because if you want to work, you have to change it. You have to fit into the system. If you know anyone younger than you, or even you yourselves, just know that it is achievable, because seeing someone do what you want to do makes it feel so much more tangible. And thank you to Nick for inviting me, and for all the other incredible women that are featured in Generation W. Like,
I've had the time of my life, literally. Amazing, amazing. I'm in love. It's so proud to be a woman.
it seemed so much easier and safer to just cheer from the sidelines. But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became that me standing was a way to challenge the status quo that incubates in so many women a lack of confidence in our ability and our potential. Despite feeling unsure of myself, it felt vitally important to attempt to reclaim politics for women, to ensure that our voices are heard by the political establishment. Because if it isn't actively challenged, the chasm of gender inequality will never